Hey everyone, Mr. Devil here, Kenny Danico, 3-time Stanley Cup champion of the New Jersey Devils, and you're listening to the Uncle Puckers New Jersey Devils podcast with Chris, Dan, Bobby, and Tony, the Uncle Puckers. Let's go Devils!
Last Friday before the regular season of hockey, and I'm super psyched that the preseason is done, but I'm not happy about having to wait a week now to actually get this season going. But thanks
it's
for
better than the
checking
9 days we originally thought. Everybody forgot there was a 7th game.
That's true. That's true. Because one of the Islander Ranger preseason games get canceled. Is that why they only played 6? Because I know they had that horrible rainstorm and the city got flooded and one of the games was postponed. I don't know if they made it up, because that's where I was thinking, because I heard that everyone was playing their last game and it was mostly the Islanders and Rangers. I was like, oh, so we're only playing 6? No, we're playing 7, and we played one last night. So what's up, guys? How's everybody?
Yo, what's everybody doing?
Chris, Dan, Bobby, Tony, we are the Uncle Puckers. Thank you for checking us out. And so did everybody check out the game last night? I know Dan didn't.
I did, yep.
Did Tony watch
the highlights?
Yeah,
it was
highlights.
I was.
I mean, for our B team against their A team, and then Schmidt gets the shutout, that was really nice. A lot of promising thing as far as depth goes last night, I thought. We didn't have any of our big guns in.
Kira had 30 saves right after that last game he had.
Yeah,
so it was
Kira had
nice
30 shots on, 30 saves. Sorokin, who hasn't had a great preseason
He's
so
not
far.
looking like Sorokin.
No.
He's letting some softies in.
And, the Islanders, without him, there's no chance of them making the playoffs. He basically dragged them to the playoffs last year, and he's going to have to do it again this year. He let in 3 goals on 27 shots. Max Wellman scored, Kevin Ball scored, and Simon Nemec scored. And that was pretty much all the scoring. So, guys, what did you think of the last preseason game? Any news, notes? I'm sure people are going to want to talk about Ball and Nemec. So, Tone, what did you think? You haven't been here in a couple of nights. Let's filled in.
I thought, with the Island going to the Islanders first, I think Stroke will be fine. I think it's just, this is the time to do it if you're going to do it. To have some, I think he'll be fine during the regular season. But I think, the Devils, first of all, I'm so glad that preseason's done with. I'm ready for the regular season. But,
and that nobody got injured.
Nobody got injured. Yeah. Nobody got injured. Bratt had a great playoffs, right? I think he had 9 points.
He only had 5 points in the playoffs. Preseason, he had 9.
No, I'm talking preseason. He had 5 goals and 4 assists. So he had a good, preseason. Jack Hughes had a good preseason. I think the Devils are pretty excited about the team. I'm interested to see what goes on with Nemec. He made a statement for himself. They released Thompson, as we know, who also was pretty. I thought he was pretty impressive in the preseason. So, it's time. The season is upon.
What do you guys think of that? I mean, because we were talking about it. Thompson and Foote kind of battling for that spot apparently. And Tony's right. Thompson had a better preseason than Foote. I don't think Foote looked good at all this preseason, but I guess the team is higher up on Foote than they are on Thompson. I mean, they put Thompson on waivers today. What do you guys think about that?
It's a casualty of doing business the way they want to do it. They're protecting Foote. They had a little more invested in him. You got to hope that you're going to keep Thompson, but you're probably not. And it's just like we talked about before. They have a lot of depth. They're going to lose pieces like this because they cannot keep everybody. And the big roster's mostly set. So it sucks, right? But you can't get too tied into it. We've seen what Foote can do, right? He did play pretty well at the end of last year. And I think the person that he projects to be is something this team will definitely need. So if I had to lose one of the two, that's the one I'd want to lose, but it does suck.
Okay. Dan, you have any,
it was a great preseason. Definitely a great preseason. These only matter so much. And I think that there's part of you that goes, this is too good to be true. It's amazing. So hopefully we just feel that way the whole season. And then, let's face it, after an amazing preseason, let's say they like lock up the President's Trophy early and set a record even. I don't know about you, but I'll be just like still having the same feeling I do about the regular season coming out of preseason as I will about the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a cool, very positive thing. It's almost like too good to be true. So if this team stays healthy, it's like insane, like how well they look not only in this preseason, but all the options they have. As far as losing those players, that we're going to have to lose. Yeah, I get it. It does suck. I think that no matter what you do at this point, you recently went and got a guy for depth and you didn't hold on to him. So that looks kind of like, okay, why bother? When you just look at that isolated piece of information, or you got somebody you've been grooming your organization, you're going to cut them loose. That two sucky choices. But let's face it, I don't think this is like that unexpected for them. I think that as a fan, it seems weird, but I think that it's a general manager move for insurance that against, somebody not having a really great camp or not being available to this point in the season, even if it was only insurance to this point. Now you have to cut bait here with one of them.
Now, excuse me, Dan, you brought up the President's Trophy. So I will ask, do you guys give any credence to the President's Trophy curse? Or is it all bullshit? Go get the President's Trophy and then go win the cup.
I kind of will tell you this, like I don't believe it's anything other than bullshit, except for the fact that a lot of people believe in bullshit. And if that gets in your head, then that's a real thing. Like magic's real if you believe in it. Sure. And, it's how much will any team be affected by this and a million people asking the same stupid question, on some psychological level. That's like another battle when you're trying to win playoff games to have something else on your. So in that sense, it's real. Of course, it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't really matter.
And do you guys really care about winning the President? I always think about that. Like, I mean, it's great to have a great season and stuff, but who cares about that? And I think it's actually more pressure for you at the end of the day. It's, it's weird. I don't really.
I mean, I think it's awesome to do when you can be the best team in the league, and then go on a run. I mean, the last time, it was 10 years ago, 9 years ago now, that the last team to win the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup was 2012-13, the Chicago Blackhawks. They were the last ones.
I'd like to see a stat on undefeated preseasons, how useless that info is, too, because it's almost like an analogy, isn't it? Yeah. It's like the President's Trophy going into the playoffs. Yippee. It's almost like having a undefeated preseason. Who cares? Let's get going.
As long as everyone stays healthy, right? That's all that really matters, and everyone looks like they're ready for the season.
You guys brought that up. What a great thing! I mean, can you imagine in the last game? I mean, of course we had like kind of a B squad there. In the last game of the preseason, after an amazing preseason, somebody big gets hurt. That would have been.
We were the only team to go undefeated in this preseason.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, it's pretty cool because, it was one thing to have a great record in the preseason. We talked about whether it matters or not. Based on this group, I feel that the momentum of constantly winning does matter. And to go 7-0 was kind of the cherry on top, but they basically were willing to give this game away. And I'd be really worried if I'm the Islanders right now because legitimately that was your A squad. Tony's right. Sorokin, he's going to be fine. We all know that. The guy's way too talented. This is not who he is, but he has had a bad preseason. But I would be legitimately worried. Not only did we not throw anybody at them, we didn't play any particularly great game. Like it was just kind of a fluid, kind of regular game. There was no major standout players. There was no, crazy rushes from a top first and second line or anything like that. It was just kind of a solid game, and they had nothing.
It basically looked like two middle of the pack teams playing a regular season game,
right? And yet we win 3-0,
and we win 3-0.
I wonder if an Isles fan would say, like, "Look, we didn't want to get hurt in this stupid, worthless game either. So whatever, somebody had to win it." I understand what you mean.
Sure, but when you play your full squad,
right? When you're
anticipating a win, you want to close out the preseason on a high note too.
I believe that. I
don't think for one second that the Islanders aren't going in that locker room, coming out of that locker room and looking across the ice and seeing, how many of our actual starters were on that team last night. Maybe 4. The rest were, guys trying to find a team, and you have to think, okay, this is our win. We're going to get
not
this.
only that,
you go and you didn't generate shit.
I get tired of hearing you're trying to convince me that athletes don't care about winning at any level of their game, whether it's a practice game, a squad game, a preseason game. These guys have been trying to win every shift their entire life. Mm-hmm. They're not going in there saying, I'm just skating my laps. They're trying to win. Maybe not trying as hard as, a game that gets them into the playoffs or a playoff game. Of course not, because there's something about that mentality, right? When it really, really means something that you do step up. But to say anybody doesn't want to win almost at any time is just bullshit to me.
I mean, the game last night was, for the Islanders, it was a glaring problem that we've talked about them having. They had it last year. They're going to have it this year. No, they can't score. They just can't score goals. And I don't care how great you are defensively. I don't care how great Ilya Sorokin is. I'm not a professional analyst, but I'm pretty sure that the team with more goals than the other team wins the game. And if you can't score more goals than the other team, you're probably not going to win. So, yeah, I think the Islanders are in a bit of trouble. I think they're going to be, they'll get back to it. They're not going to be, they're not going to go 0-82.
They're not pushovers.
But
no,
but I do think that they need to really. If I was an Islander fan, if this was an Islander podcast right now, we would be talking about how we have to get goal scoring. Who can we get goal scoring from? Either I see that we just signed Max Willman to the two-way deal, so he's going to be part of the team. So he looked okay last night.
He played with Philly for a while. I think he may have had 40 or 50 games with them. He was with Philly.
He came in with on a PTO. Am I wrong about that?
No,
he was,
correct.
right? Yeah. Okay. And let's talk about that sixth defensive spot. I mean, what do you guys think? Is it Nemec? Is it his?
Trying to make a case for himself.
Yesterday,
that's for sure. Looked pretty good.
His offensive ability is amazing. I mean, he is only going to get better at that. And, I know I said in the last show that I would be a little bit more comfortable with Miller in that spot just to have that veteran there.
Don't you feel like we start the season with Miller? That's what I kind of.
I kind of feel that way, but I mean, but to me also, when you look at it, apples to apples, Nemec was a better player through the entire preseason. So,
it's like the Thompson thing, right? You were saying sometimes it's just a decision.
Yeah, right. I mean, and Nemec you can send down, you can pull him back up. It's not like you got to worry about losing the kid, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I think they would probably go with Miller. At least I would go with Miller, but I'm not so sure that this team is gonna. I think there's a decent chance that Simone Nemec is going to be on this team next week.
It wouldn't be shocking.
Yeah.
I know that like a GM and a coach would never put this kind of thinking into it, but the story and the energy of having Nemec in there for that first game, the home openers are different. There's a energy that just kind of carries that game. You could probably have the more liable defenseman in that game than maybe some other regular season games. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be a lot of energy. There's going to be a lot of high up tempo, and just everything's just coming up roses for the Devils right now. So it just seems like one of those things where you can plug them in and it's another feel-good story to go with every other feel-good story that's been happening since the playoffs ended. So I could see him making the opening day lineup. I still think it's Miller's spot in the beginning. I said before, I didn't think Nemec was going to start on the team, or at least not start in the lineup. But Miller, I don't even recall seeing him, and I was looking for him.
Yeah, he's the safer bet. I get it, but all Nemec's done is shown you that it's not so unsafe going with him.
Right.
I could see a world in which they don't.
What I'd be confused about though is if it's a Hughes Nemec pairing. I don't think I like that, and I think maybe the thinking is sheltered minutes being the third pair, but I just think it'd be more evenly distributed if those two weren't together.
I agree. I wouldn't put them together, and I would kind of think, on the sheltered minutes, but yet it looks like Hughes is going to be quarterbacking one of those power plays.
Right.
So, I mean, you don't usually put your, fit defenseman on the, point on the power play. Right. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I think that was probably just because of last night and just kind of, because they were together only last night. Am I wrong about that?
Thought there was another game.
Where they might have been.
Yeah.
They might have been. I don't didn't follow
who
every
needs Marino
defensive
more
area.
when you think about that? Who would you rather have with Marino more? Probably the less steady defenseman.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing that's stopping Nemec right now. He has made some mistakes in his defensive zone, and you can't be giving up goals or at least good scoring opportunities. But if you're willing to say, hey, the upside on this kid is too great, and we think 20, 25 games in, he's going to find his game, and that's just now another weapon that's there offensively. This team can score from everywhere. I mean, actually, I have Vitek Vanacek on 15 goals this year.
Wow.
They're going to score so many goals.
Luke made a couple errors too. I think it was like
Mm-hmm.
two games ago, right? It led to like clear turnovers in the offensive zone and a breakaway, and that's just what you're going to get for a little while.
Right.
But he can cover that up himself, right, on the next shift. But we all know that's going to happen with these two, which is I don't think they put them both together.
No, I think that's a mistake.
But God, having them both on the team would be exciting.
I'll tell you, I mean, I'm kind of like feeling like you guys were just saying before, like, is the other shoe going to drop at some point? Like, this is really going way too good. Like something bad's going to fucking happen.
Something
Our clock's going to go off. And
last
wake
year
you
we
up.
had such a lucky, when it comes to injuries and shit like that, we did really well. So it's got to be something this year, but that's every team's going to deal with it. It's just, I think we have so much tools that we can kind of fucking fix
Just
it.
looking back at the standings last year too, because there's some topics we're going to discuss today, and I'm looking at the points. And yeah, we know some teams are going to be better, some teams are going to, but I'm looking at how tightly grouped everything really was. And even for the Devils and the Carolina to have kind of that one jump above, like forget about Boston, that was a fluke, right? But that one jump above kind of the rest of the pack by 10, 12 points. A lot of things had to go right to get those extra 10, 12 points. Like there's a lot of like 92 to 100 points there.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of movement. And even looking at that, I'm like, you know what? All right, so they don't win the division or they don't, whatever, just make the playoffs. I know they'll make the playoffs, but you do start to look at the point structure and go very easily you can slide down a few points. But the way things are going, I'm sticking with the optimism.
Yeah.
They're going to win the whole thing.
You know what? Let's jump into that now that you brought it up. So we do have a couple of us had put together our playoff picture for both the Western and Eastern Conference. This isn't necessarily in orders 1 through 8 or playoff matchups, but we also did kind of do our early preseason picks for the Western Conference Final, Eastern Conference Final, Stanley Cup Final, Stanley Cup winner right now. So, Bobby, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so again, the idea here is we originally were starting with just our Final Four.
Right.
And then maybe a Stanley Cup pick. And a couple of us were talking that in order to really kind of make the Final Four, at least for us, not everybody on the show, we wound up kind of doing the full brackets. But for purposes of this, we're just going to pick who our 8 teams are in each division. So starting with the West, I have the Avalanche, the Stars, the Oilers, the Knights, the Jets, the Wild, the Kraken, and the Kings. I didn't change much up from last year. Like there's no major movement there. I did slot people in different positions than last year, but we're not really going over that. I don't know a ton about the West. And when I look at it, I saw some opportunities where I'm looking at a couple teams where I'm like, a few more points than they were in. But I didn't know who they were going to take those points away. Like maybe a Calgary, right? They're not as bad as they were last year, but they also didn't necessarily get better. So I didn't even know what to do with them. So I kind of went safe on the West.
I think Calgary lost something like 17 1-goal games last year.
Right.
Which is crazy. And they're not going to lose 17 1-goal games this year. So, and they were 1 point out of the playoffs. But I know you didn't do divisions, but I know
I do have my order of actual points. I mean,
for the Central, you have Colorado, Dallas, and who was your third team coming out of Central?
So let's see. Jets and Wild.
Okay, so you have so Winnipeg or the Wild are going to be a wild card. That's how you have it.
Yes.
Okay, and then the Pacific, you had Edmonton, you had the Kings, and who else?
The Kraken and the Knights.
Okay. And what do you got for your Western Conference Final?
I have a Western Conference Final being the Avalanche and the Oilers.
Okay.
Avalanche are making their move again this year.
All right. What do you got for the East?
For the East, I have the Devils, the Hurricanes, the Maple Leafs, the Sabres, the Penguins, the Rangers, Panthers, and the Bruins.
Okay.
And for my Eastern Conference final, I have the Devils and the Maple Leafs.
Okay. And what's your Stanley Cup final?
My early Stanley Cup prediction at this point, sorry to say, from King Homer, the Devils lose to the Oilers in the Stanley Cup Finals.
So you have the Oilers winning the Cup.
I do.
Okay. Tone, what do you got?
Well, I am not set up like Bobby here. I mean,
That's all right. Whatever you got.
Dan might be set up a little bit less than me, but I'm pretty much bottom set up. I'm just going to tell you who my 8 teams in the West are.
Okay.
And that was the one area that didn't really change much. I have Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota. I think Colorado, I'm actually, as much as I'm not an Avalanche fan, I'm kind of looking forward to see some of their games this year. Vegas, Edmonton, the Kings, Winnipeg, and Seattle. So I actually believe that my West is exactly the same as it was last year, pretty much as who went in. In the East, I have Boston. Of course, I do think Boston's going to get in. I know they've had major changes. I have Toronto. Of course, they've 111 points last year. I think they've beefed up their lineup a little bit. Tampa's, I just can't picture Tampa missing the playoffs. Even with Vazzy out for 2 months, I just find them getting in somehow. Carolina, of course, the Devils, the Rangers, unfortunately. I left the Islanders out this year, man, because I just think that they are going to not make the playoffs. Surprisingly, it was kind of a flip-flop here. I'm going to go with Florida getting in just because with that run they had last year and with Kachuk, it's just hard to leave them out of the playoffs. The biggest question was for me is Pittsburgh, Ottawa. I'm going to go with Ottawa with 80. They had 86 points last year. Pittsburgh, they finished 5th last year, but I don't know. I could picture them missing, but I'd like to see Ottawa get in, and I think the Islanders are the odd man out over there.
What do you got for your Western Conference final?
I didn't do any of that.
Oh, okay.
I just pulled. I just did the 88.
You have a Stanley Cup pick?
Edmonton is one of them. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Edmonton, New Jersey.
Okay, same as Bobby.
Yeah,
and
but I'm gonna go with the Devils winning because hey,
all right,
take my Homer tag.
Why not? I'm gonna wear Bobby's hat today.
I actually did mine to conference and wild card, divisions and wild card. So in the Western Conference, in the Central, I have Colorado 1, I have Dallas 2, I have Minnesota 3. They're going to be in the playoffs. In the Pacific, I have Edmonton 1, I have Los Angeles Kings 2, and I have the Calgary Flames 3. For the wild card in the Western Conference, I have the 2 expansion teams. I have the Knights and the Kraken. They're going to be the wild card. For the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic, I have Toronto, Buffalo, Boston.
I knew you were going to have Buffalo in there.
And I have Boston in 3rd. And at first, I didn't. Back before the Vasilevsky injury, I wasn't even sure what I was doing with Boston. But I do think they're good enough to get the 3rd spot. Metro, I have New Jersey, Carolina, Pittsburgh. In my wild card, I have Tampa making the wild card because I agree with you, Tony. Even with Vasilevsky out, they're still a really good team. And I haven't decided yet for my second wild card. I'm up in the air between the Rangers and Ottawa. I think I'm going to go with Ottawa. For this exercise, the Rangers are not making the playoffs.
Wow.
And I can attribute some of what we saw against the Islanders the same to the Rangers. The Rangers can score. They do have scoring, but they're not a fast team. They're slow. And if Shesterkin is not on his game every night, I do think that they're going to be struggling, and I think they can be fighting for a playoff spot. So right now I have them on the bubble. I'll take them out. I'll make my Eastern Conference wildcard Tampa and Ottawa. My Western Conference final, this is going to make if we have any Canadian listeners, the way my finals play out, you have a 75% chance to win the Stanley Cup. I have my Western Conference final. I have Edmonton, Calgary.
And Calgary, wow.
Eastern Conference final.
Toronto.
I think we all picked Toronto and New Jersey. That's exactly what I have. But we don't win it. Stanley Cup final is Edmonton, Toronto, Oilers win the Cup. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl finally get their championship.
Look at that.
So
Dan's like, all right, I got to change this up. I'm going to have the Flyers and the Canadians and the.
That's it. How did you guess?
Blue
Flyers,
Jackets win the cup.
Somehow, I'm going to get the Flyers and Canadians for the Stanley Cup final too. That's going to work out.
Dan, do you have off the top of your head a Stanley Cup pick?
I mean, honestly, I have a hard time giving like a serious thought to it. There's so much that goes into it, but it's fun, and I get it. I find it more interesting to listen to your guys' picks, and it is kind of curious. And I think we're probably not alone here, just Devils fans, but I bet you around the league, a lot of people feeling it's Edmonton's year. Everybody's in agreement with that. I see that, and I can't deny that it makes sense that they come out of the West. But still, as we handicap these things, our best prediction is still such a small percentage chance that it's going to come out because, just that way. But it's still better than, any other explanation you can give. I like that. Who wins in these matchups, especially when you get down to the 4, that kind of makes some kind of sense. Who knows, It's just such a coin flip, far away.
We talked about a little bit, Dan, on the last show. It's crazy at just how many teams. Let me just ask you guys: could you see Toronto winning the Stanley Cup?
Yes.
Could you see New Jersey winning the Cup?
Yes.
Carolina?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Tampa?
Yep.
Never know.
Edmonton?
Tampa less so, but if let's put it this way: Tampa gets out of a first round. They're dangerous. They can do anything. They've got all that experience. So
Colorado.
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of course.
Dallas.
Yep.
Los Angeles. Edmonton. The Knights. All those teams, legitimately, if they were any one of ours or anybody else's Stanley Cup winner, you can't argue it too much.
No.
These are all really, really good teams. It's who knows how this season's going to go. It's going to be a lot of fun. But right now, just off this preseason, off the season we had last year, I just see the Devils every single night being a really hard out. I feel like they're going to be that team this year that any losses they have are just going to be that they didn't play very well. Not that anybody else outplayed them, because I don't know how many teams can outplay these guys.
Yeah. It's fun to think, throw the 7th game out because that was total B squad. Look at the first 6 games alone. Only one of them, we had our 2 premier lines together. So the other 5, it was one or the other.
Right.
And they still did what they did. And again, preseason, I get it. But just to think that how they can attack in different ways with all that depth, with all that firepower, it is very exciting coming out of this camp.
Now,
I love their added grit, and that's what I think is even more important, as we exit the regular season, as we start. We get towards the end of it, is this a team with enough grit? The character is going to be shown throughout the regular season, where you're going to have a much better way of predicting that come playoff time than we do today. Right. And I'm excited about early signs of that. Early signs saying, this is a gritty team that can get into a really good playoff mode of grit that you need, in every single playoff game.
Now, what did you guys think about Jesper Bratt being on the penalty kill this preseason? Is this something you think Lindy's gonna have him out there? I mean, if you put a guy like that out on the penalty kill, shorthanded goals galore.
Yeah.
Jesper Bratt could legitimately lead the league in shorthanded goals.
Shows some growth too in him as a player to be, in that kind of pressure situation defensively, taking on that kind of role too.
He looks like a different player.
He does. He looks so much more mature, just in this,
from everything from his skating to even his body size. He's more filled out. He looks more like a man.
The focus is probably more clear now and just playing and no other contracts or any of that
his money.
bullshit.
Boy got paid. We said it back in the summertime. If this team is going to do anything in the playoffs, Jesper Bratt cannot have the playoff he had last year. I think he's going to be our leading scorer this year. I really do in points.
And we say that we say with the preseason it doesn't matter because it really doesn't matter. But seeing him have 9 points in the preseason is pretty nice.
He's already warmed up.
Yep.
That's the key. He goes into regular season, and look, we had a very good preseason last year. I think we only lost 1 game, and then we pooped the bed the first 2 games, and we fired Lindy Ruff and all the other fun stuff that went along with it. So maybe we should temper our expectations, because if Red Wings and Coyotes come in and kick our asses Thursday and Friday night.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to happen. But if it does, and then we fire Lindy again, and then, we're right back, and then we go on, what do we end up, 19-3, I think?
Sorry,
the first
again,
21, 22 games of the year.
I mean, the confidence is such a funny thing with the athletes, though, right? Because you take a guy like Bratt, who had the preseason he has, and in his mind, that's great. He's roaring into the regular season. You take another guy who had a shitty preseason, and they get to say, okay, this is where we flip the page and start over, and they get to think a different way. So it can work both ways. But I still have to believe in my heart of hearts, as somebody who played like a corporate softball, you know what I mean? It was competitive in that. If you go into this thing on that type of high, it's nothing but a positive. You could say it doesn't matter because it's preseason. I get that, but it's nothing but a positive. It's definitely a better way to go in than, like Heischer. He might love his game this preseason. He's got 1 goal as an empty netter. I don't know what kind of confidence he has going in. He knows who he is. So I'm sure he's fine, but it's not what Brad's thinking. It can't be.
Bob, would you brush off Debbie from accounting off the plate when you're a celebrity?
She's playing catcher. He just takes her out.
Yeah,
Right
it was lob pitch.
Like when Costanza takes out Beth Midler?
Yeah, exactly.
Seinfeld?
Beth Midler. That was funny.
Kramer's out there buying her fucking ice.
Sad to think I haven't been on that corporate softball league in like 16 years.
They won't let you play anymore because you're like, bowling
way too
people off
competitive.
the plate, and you're way too competitive.
I'm telling you.
It's only corporate softball, Bob.
Gotta win.
What is the age for elder people? So what is that? The senior league? What is that? Because we're all going to be getting up there.
I'll get on that next year.
That's we got to all be
5
coming
years
up to
away
that
from
age
that
now.
one.
Isn't that crazy? You're going to be on the Silver Foxes. That's what my grandfather played for. Yeah, he played for a team called the Silver Foxes.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, as we record this on our Saturday night, tomorrow's football Sunday, guys. Tone, well, you don't have a football Sunday.
Monday
you got a
night,
football
yeah.
Monday. You guys are going to go and beat the snot out of the Green Bay Packers.
You know what time I got to be up for that game? 3:15 in the morning. I got my alarm set for 3.
Can we maybe do each other favors this week? You take care of the Packers, I'll take care of the Chiefs, and our division.
I really hope you guys got Taylor Swift mania going on your game because everything is Taylor. It's just so annoying.
I don't think she's going to be there.
Who knows? But last weekend, the Raiders game, man, I was so fed up.
Yeah, they have not looked good. And, I mean, we talked a little bit about Garoppolo last week, but, man, he can't stay healthy, man.
Well, they put O'Connell in, right? Which, I mean, O'Connell, hey, I'm going to tell you, I was impressed with him, actually, in a lot of ways. But he fumbled.
You were impressed with him fumbling the ball every time he got touched?
Yeah, 3 times, the first 3 times. But that was his biggest. But you saw, that. I don't know. I couldn't figure out how he fumbled 3 times in a row. It was almost unbelievable. But there was some stuff I saw from him from being thrown in there because they didn't want him to have 1 snap this year. The Raiders' plan is a ridiculous plan always, and it's like it's already a circus in week 6 now or whatever.
It is.
It's a circus already, and to get tossed in there like that, he was not expecting to take 1 snap this year. He was like the 3rd string, but it's just so crazy there. Nothing surprising.
Yeah, because they released Hoyer, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah, they just so we're not going to start him. Yeah, so I'm hoping that I think O'Connell's going to play against the Packers, I believe.
Hope you
it's
guys
going to be crazy.
One.
I'm sure Adams will be gone.
Yeah, I know we're about to pay some respect to our advertisers here, but there is a very funny picture that's going around the internet from some Eagles fans. And some of you may have seen it, but I think it needs a little bit of an explanation here. There's 4 jerseys, and it's a number 62, a number 91, the number 1, and the number 0, which doesn't mean anything as far as just numbers go, unless, of course, you're a smart Eagles fan. And it turns out that in that order, that spells Kelsey, Cox, Hurts, Swift. I'm sorry. That's just internet gold.
There was this meme going around like last year, and it was all the NFC East teams, right? And it was like a New York, there's women, that are Giant fans, and it's this beautiful girl, right? And she's got her sexy Giant jersey on. The same thing with the Redskins or the Commanders, and same thing with what's the hell's the other team? Not Philadelphia. Dallas, and then they show Philly, and it's like this chick squatting in the parking lot taking a piss, and just holding the Eagle jersey. I'm like, that's perfect.
Here's a question for you, Chris. Does Taylor Swift do to Kelsey what Simpson did to Romo? Wasn't that the end of his career pretty much?
Simpson, eh? Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I love it.
And look, I'm expecting us to get our absolute asses handed to us tomorrow. So I don't really care either way. If we lose tomorrow, let's just maybe tank the season and go get a good quarterback. But for anybody else, wherever you are watching your game, remember, throw a few bucks on it. It makes it a lot more fun, especially if your team's losing. But, hey, maybe you can win some money. And the best way to do that is with DraftKings Sportsbook. That's right. We are back with another week of NFL action. And DraftKings is the official sportsbook of the NFL and the Hockey Podcast Network. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football is more fun when you're in on the action, so download the app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available. For problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake, Charles, Louisiana, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
Wow.
Doesn't DraftKings take away from the old days of like someone going to your house and breaking your limbs if you don't pay and stuff like that?
It really does.
That's part of the commercial.
Doesn't that just kind of take that little part away? I mean,
it's so much safer, Tony. You're right.
Well,
now, I only get 41 odds, 40 to 1 odds on your money, going 5 for 200.
DraftKings sends Kevin Hart after you now.
Yeah.
You guys want to play a game?
I think we should.
I love games. What do you have in mind?
Shall we play a game?
Buckle up, boys and girls. It is time for The Devil You Know on the Uncle Pucker New Jersey Devil Podcast.
There you go.
For the funnest game in podcast history, it's The Devil You Know, where today I will be giving clues to a former New Jersey Devil. Bobby, Dan, and Tony have to guess the Devil that I am talking about. They can have 3 incorrect answers before they are eliminated. They can ask me any question they want, and I can or cannot answer it. It is completely up to me. So you guys all set?
If we wanted through DraftKings, could we bet on which one of us is going to win today?
I don't think DraftKings has that, but I'll take your bet.
They should. We'll suggest that to them. My money's on Tony.
I'm starting to write shit down now. I need to start.
I don't know.
Well, forget about it. I take my money off Tony. He's going to get confused with that pencil.
Exactly.
You want high risk, high reward? It's me.
Yeah, high reward, exactly.
Don't change your method, Tony. You're in the lead.
You are. This former Devil was born December 18th, 1984. He's 38 years of age.
Mm.
He stands at 6'7", 244 pounds.
Jeez.
He has played for 8 NHL franchises. He made his...
I got it. Christoph Eliwa?
No. You are wrong.
Damn it.
And don't call him Eliwa.
Yeah. Christoph Elias? What?
I love that guy.
What a player that would be, right?
Yeah.
How tall was he?
He was
6'7"?
He's
probably
still
good.
6'7".
Somebody
He's
could
still
guess Hubris?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh,
Thank God. I still want to play.
He
You
made
think
his
we'd have the 6'7" Devils at top of mind? Because there's not too many of them.
No, I'm trying to think just gigantic.
Yeah.
Don't think short.
He made his NHL debut in 2007-2008 season against the New Jersey Devils, and he scored his first goal that night against Martin Brodeur.
For what team?
It's not going to answer.
All right, I'll tell you. The Los Angeles Kings. This former Devil scored 4 goals in his first 7 games that he played.
For the Kings.
Yes. The Kings drafted him. The Kings were his first team. He ended up signing a 2-year deal with New Jersey as a UFA in July of 2017.
This is fairly recent.
This player, which one do I want to give you? Hang on a second.
I think tall Los Angeles King.
You did say defenseman, right? You said defenseman?
I didn't say defenseman.
Would you say defenseman?
I would not say defenseman.
Not a defenseman.
You like these questions. Would you say?
He replaced Taylor Hall in the 2018 All-Star game because Taylor Hall was hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Boy, we should have this already, guys.
We should have this for sure. I remember that.
I mean, there are some clues that I can give that I know you guys will get right away, but I'm going to go with some other stuff. He was drafted by the Kings in 2003, 26th overall. He played 4 years at Boston College, and he is a Massachusetts native.
Hold on. 2007, he was drafted, right? That's it.
2003, he was drafted, 26th overall.
2007, he made his first appearance with the Kings.
He played his first game in 2007.
Right.
Yes. Let's see. This guy, I don't want to give that one right now. In that All-Star game, he finished second in accuracy shooting. In 2017-18, he was selected as the Devils nominee for the Bill Masterton Trophy, which he won.
How the hell are we not getting this?
Wow, this is like the Jaromir Jagr all over again.
Is it Jaromir Jagr?
He was diagnosed with chronic myelogenous leukemia.
Boyle.
Brian Boyle.
Got it with the cancer.
No, I don't even
Big
picture
boy.
the Kings. Yeah,
Nice one.
nice man.
Yeah,
I can't believe it took
Me
us
neither.
this
I didn't
long to
remember
figure
the
this guy.
After his fight with, let's see, he scored a hat trick on Hockey Fights Cancer Night against Pittsburgh. He's now an analyst on the NHL Network.
Yep.
Let's see. After he scored his first goal as a Devil a week after returning to practice after his diagnosis against Cam Talbot from Edmonton, and he was quoted saying, "I've never cried after a goal before," and he did, of course. That's why he said that. So he's a big giant crybaby. But it was Brian Boyle, so good job.
That's a
man.
good one.
He's a great guy, too.
Yeah, I like Brian Boyle.
I remember when he scored that
Sad
goal. It was
Steve
actually that was an afternoon game that day, and I do remember it was pretty. It was a pretty emotional thing. Actually, you're kind of like, damn,
I remember
man,
the
like,
hat
what a
trick
storybook.
against Pittsburgh on Hockey Fights Cancer Night.
I know.
That was
And
awesome.
that was weird because I felt like Pittsburgh was representing cancer in that game. Which is like,
Yeah.
probably not the way they want it to be painted, but
It's-
that's the way it shook out.
It's funny how the mind works because as you're given those clues, we all knew this was somebody we should know. And once the name came out, all of those memories came flooding back
Yep.
in. Now I
I was
remember
locked on the
everything you
Kings.
said, but I could not pick out his name.
Yeah, I mean, once I went to leukemia, of course, it's Brian Boyle, but I wanted to see if you guys can get it before that clue.
I was hung up on the Kings. I don't know why. I was like, who was it? This
I know,
big
I didn't
guy
That's
think
how
of
you
him as
throw
a
Tony
Kings.
off. You throw
Yeah,
Tony
it's
off
like-
the scent, and he stays there. He doesn't come back. He just, sticks with that. Like, he's just going through really tall Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, I was like, man, who do we? And then the replacement on the All Star.
I did get stuck on the 6'7" as well, and I did think he was a defenseman the entire time until that question was answered. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
I should have bet on
like
myself.
Brian
I bet on Tony, and I lost.
You lost, huh?
Yeah.
Now your door's going to get a little knocking on in about 15 minutes. We're going to come snap your fucking limbs. We gotta.
I mean, look, I know, like, we went on, we talked a ton about the preseason and everything. We have some stuff that we're going to do a show, of course, before the game on Thursday night. Oh, and also for our listeners, we will be doing a live stream. Well, we hope to be doing a live stream Friday night, of course, with internet gremlins and the fact that we really don't know what we're doing. There's a good chance that we're not going to do the live stream and we're not going to be able to pull it off. But if by some chance after the game, about 10 o'clock or so, after the Coyote game a week from yesterday, Friday, hop onto our YouTube channel and come and join us. It'll be fun.
Oh, yeah.
You can actually see how pretty Bobby is and how his long red hair. It's so weird that you have fucking ugly ginger.
I just have to braid it.
This is going to be Bobby right here.
Conan O'Brien.
That's Conan.
That's Conan O'Brien.
You ever listen to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend?
I love Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. It makes me think that Conan O'Brien should have done more of that on his TV show.
I agree. I didn't listen to him. My wife turned me on to it, and then I was listening to the Summer S'more series, and they were just hysterical. Now I'm addicted to it.
He's a hilarious guy. He really is. I know I've enjoyed so many things on his TV show over the years, but there was always a little bit of, I don't know if this is the best way to use Conan. And I'll tell you what, he's awesome at the Theater of the Mind on the radio kind of thing. And I didn't suspect that, when I found him, I was pretty happy. Yeah, it's good times.
So what else do you guys want to talk about tonight?
I have a question.
Please.
I have a Star Wars question.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. I just caught up with Ahsoka, so I'm ready.
So this is where I'm going with this. So I did get to finally see the Anakin episode. Awesome.
Right.
My question, Chris, is the green skin general lady. Who is that?
Hera?
Hera.
Green, kind of got leg hair or whatever that is, right?
That's Harrison.
Kind of cute, right? Nice little dupa.
That's the chick from what was she in? Scott Pilgrim Saves the World.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question about her hat. Well, no, I know she's a general of some kind, so that's enough for me. But she wears a hat.
Yes,
but
a flight hat with the goggles.
It's like a flight hat, right? But she's got like this leg hair thing, and a conventional hat like covers your head. And I noticed that this hat doesn't cover what is, I guess, an extension of her head by having this like leg hair. Yeah. So it's very open. So it's not functioning very well as a hat. But then
you keep saying leg hair. I'm a little confused.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just
leg hair.
It's part of her anatomy. It's just the way her head looks.
Has it too.
Right. I know that.
Tentacle things on their head.
My wife and I call it leg hair because we don't know what else to call it.
I got you. Okay.
But then we're watching the show, and after I got over the fact that, again, her hat does not properly function as a hat, I realized that when she's walking away, it looks like she's wearing shorts on the top of her head.
What is like a 70s
leg hair. What?
So what's your question?
I didn't know who she was, first of all. And then I guess my question to you is, do you feel that functions as a hat or more as a visor?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Do you think that
I totally got lost here.
Bob, do you think it's possible she has a second vagina on her head? Is that what you're saying? Between
those
two legs?
Do you think
it looks like shorts on her head?
I guess they would. What is it? It's future, right? Star Wars is futuristic.
Actually, Star Wars is past.
Oh, so I bet you they all have bushes. I mean, no one probably was shaving back then.
I think, and then, sure.
I'm sure, grooming is huge in the Star Wars.
or they groom with little tiny lightsabers.
Yes, little tiny lightsabers.
Which is
like Ahsoka Tano doing commercials for, when you want to stay close down there, I use open up a little lightsaber as she trims it.
You got Miss Burrito and her daughter walking down the beach.
So why doesn't her hat cover her head? If that's
I don't
her
know.
Head,
it's her head. I don't know why. It's part of her design. She started as a cartoon. She was animated. So she's from Rebels. So if you want to know who she is. And so where are you on the show, Bob?
So we just finished the Anakin episode and started into whatever episode is after that. So 6, maybe?
Okay. Yeah. And Dan, you're done with it?
Just finished it, yeah.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I thought it was really good. And I didn't know if they're going to set you up for future seasons. It looks like they do.
Yeah, I love how they ended it. I think it's the perfect ending. Now, Bobby, you read the Heir to the Empire books, right?
That is so funny you're going to bring that up because I read that.
Oh, you read them too?
I read that.
At least one of them.
God.
There was like all Thrawn, right?
Yeah, it was all Thrawn.
That's in the 90s.
Yeah.
I read the very first one that came out after Return of the Jedi, Heir to the Empire, and I remember really loving it. I can't tell you what it was now because it was so long ago, but I do remember really loving it and reading Star Wars books since then and saying, why can't they be more like that one?
Right.
But that's about all I really remember.
So now in the Thrawn books, because I have not read the books and I don't go diving down rabbit holes to find out Star Wars stuff online. Okay, but it's Luke and Leia are the protagonists, right?
It has nothing to do with the Rebels characters,
right?
And I thought it was pretty creative. They took that whole Rebels show and then they injected that dangling Thrawn story that's been there since, like Bobby said, the 90s, and they actually made it work pretty seamlessly. because it would never work to make TV and movies today, because then you got to involve Luke and Leia, and that's troublesome to do. I know they put
they're
Luke
making
in, the Mandalorian and whatever, but it's that's difficult. It's all CGI weirdness.
But they are making the movie. They're making the Heir to the Empire movie now.
Yeah.
So now you think that's going to follow this story, or is that going to go back to the Luke Leia stuff?
I think it's probably going to go back to Luke and Leia. I think Dave Filoni's going to actually recast them.
Wow,
well, there's that one actor who looks exactly like Luke.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan. Yeah. They've had stuff online of him, and I don't know if he is going to be Luke or not. But I'm pretty sure they're.
Is that going to invalidate what we saw with this series? Is that what you're saying, or is that somehow going to fit in where everything that happened in Ahsoka also still happened?
Well, if you think about it, Bobby, take your headphones off for a second. You can't hear us? Okay. So if you think about it, though, Dan, Ahsoka's in the other galaxy. So she's not around for any of the Heir to the Empire stuff. So they can do a whole different thing in a whole different galaxy with Ahsoka and Sabine, right? And then still do the normal.
Well, Sabine wasn't in it either.
Right, but I'm saying, they can be, if you...
Ezra, I don't know what happens.
He's not in it.
Nothing in Heir of the Empire fits with the Thrawn stuff.
Right, but now they can actually do a cool Thrawn story, right? Because you don't have to put Ahsoka in it because she's in the other galaxy. She doesn't have to come back. But there is another show coming on. Okay, Bobby,
and they did set up. Wait, Bob.
Wait.
They did set up possibly involving Leia, right? That last episode.
Well, yeah, they mentioned her a couple of times.
They had C-3PO make an appearance and talk about Leia, and
she's there. She's part of the whole thing, and so they must know about Luke and everything else. So Bobby, you can come back.
Bobby, I don't think you did anything like that for 25 cents in the bathroom at high school.
I agree.
All full of shit.
Do you know what it's like? Do you know what it's like when you know people are talking about you? But I literally knew you were talking, I couldn't listen.
Yeah, but and then I
just had these little headphones because I got to get those nice headphones that we used to advertise for, and I can hear these little miniature voices because I had it
well, we just didn't want to spoil the Ahsoka show for you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all.
So I stopped after the first. So I don't know which one it was. I watched the trilogy, of course, and then after that, I think I saw the first or second films, but. Did they just get rid of? Because obviously one of the worst characters was the Jar Jar Binks guy. Did they just get rid of him? Did they ever say what happened to him, or he just disappeared?
He died violently.
Yeah, it was an ugly death. Actually,
we don't know how he died or if he's dead.
Oh, really? They killed his ass off.
Oh yeah, brutally.
Really?
That would be nice if they had, but
they didn't. He's still alive. So he showed up, I guess, a little bit in the second, right? Attack of the Clones. He was in it for 2 seconds, and then he was in Clone Wars, where he is actually a representative for the Gungans in the Old Republic.
They should put him in the latest timeline, and he could just be really old.
In old Jar Jar. Yeah, Jar Jar was by far the worst character ever.
Awful. Did you guys watch any Are you guys I'm a big, obviously I love horror movies, but you guys, I know it's October. Do you guys watch any horror movies at all?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch we wanted to watch this month. The whole family was talking about going on a horror movie kick. It hasn't happened yet. So I
got one for you, Dan.
Yeah,
if you're a horror movie. Chris, I don't think you're a big horror movie guy. I think your daughter is maybe.
Yeah,
there's 2 of them out. Well, there's a couple of them before that, but Terrifier 1 and 2. It's about this. I'm never afraid of clowns. I think clowns are whatever, But there is this clown, Art the Clown, and Bob, you may know Terrifier or Art the Clown a little bit.
I know Art the Clown. Yes.
This is the most vicious. It's the most vicious films, but it's 80s slashers. But this clown is such a bastard, and it's awesome. I mean, the guy who plays him is David Howard Thornton, and he actually doesn't do any he doesn't speak at all. There's none of that, but he's almost like a mime. He does
now they're scary.
But dude, it is. I'm telling you, it is the guy. They shot it in Jersey, the first one, and it was I think they made it for $25,000.
That is scary.
The second one is really put together well. They had a really big budget on it, but man, it is. I recommend anybody watching any of those films definitely check out Terrifier 1 or 2. The second one is much more short.
Terrifier.
Yeah, Terrifier. Art the Clown, man.
Have you ever seen Tusk? That Kevin Smith part. I heard that was really good. I've not seen it yet.
I just see Dan's mouth, not his whole head.
All right.
He's always messing with me on the camera.
I'm moving around. I can't sit still.
It's past his limit. We're past 45 minutes.
The only way I sit still is if I slump in this chair, and just
you get fucking antsy.
Yeah.
So
and then you start shrinking. So
Tony's asking about watching horror movies.
Oh yeah.
we don't watch them too much here, but we actually just went out to, Halloween headquarters, whatever it's called, and got my son his Halloween costume this year. And this year he's going to be Jason.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And this is his first real scary, like horror movie type of costume. He was like a scary wolf last year, but this is his first like legitimate horror character. So he's been asking a lot of questions this year about horror films. The talk on the bus, the kids are talking. He's 9.
Why does Jason only kill people when they're fucking, Dad?
Yeah. And so he's been asking a lot of questions, and we're in Halloween headquarters today.
Dad, stabbing wrong.
We talk a lot about the classics, the ones I know: Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, that sort of. And he always wants to know kind of the base story. So he asks about Michael Myers and like why he is killing. I'm like, well, he's just a bad man. He's just killing. He's like, why? How does it start?
Because he was not hugged.
I didn't want to tell him it was a kid. I don't want to plant the seed. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, he just started killing people in the neighborhood. And then we walk by.
That's more terrifying, Bob.
No, it gets worse. But we could walk by one of those like pictures where, if you look at it this way, it's Michael Myers. But if you look at it this way, it's him as a kid.
Right.
I didn't want to tell him that he started killing when he was a kid. So we're there. And my wife's like, oh, yeah, well, that's him. That's him when he was a kid. And he's got the knife right there. And it's like, well, Dad, he's like, well, what's that? I'm like, well, okay. Yeah. So he did. He started killing.
So now you're a liar.
Right. I'm like, no. He started killing when he was a kid, and then he became an adult. And
But you already told him.
Now it looks like you've been hiding.
No,
Yeah,
you don't
you've
understand
been
the
hiding
point.
this information.
You don't
He's not
understand
going
the
to believe
point.
anything you say about Freddy Krueger, Jason.
How about Children of the Corn, right? Where they
I'm
go
just
kill their
saying
parents. I mean,
Michael Myers killed his parents in the beginning. I don't
and
want to
his
tell my
sister.
kid that. I don't need this in his head.
His
I sleep
sister
in the same house. So
How did
we're
he
just going
kill
to
his
skip this
parents,
part.
Dad? Tell me again exactly how.
Oh, he saw. He's holding a knife like this. The image. I tried to skip that part.
He's going to come
Bobby,
down
there's a
and
scene.
be like, Dad, tell
1
me
o'clock
about
in the morning.
Lizzie Borden. What did she do?
1 o'clock in the morning, you're going to wake up to him standing in your room.
Right.
This is exactly why I didn't want to tell him he killed his parents when he was like 9 years old. But then we were talking about like Friday the 13th too, and he's all like, well, the first one
Friday
it was the
13th
mom.
2 or Friday
The
13th
first
as well?
or it's 15
as well.
Okay.
And he was just getting into like, the killings because we were discussing the whole family, how you
murder.
didn't really see the killer in Friday the 13th. That's why it was revealed later that it was, the mom and a female.
You
which
saw the mom at
nobody
the end.
thought at the end.
Yeah.
Right. But when the killings were
Betsy
happening, it was just
Palmer.
kind of blind killings. And I was thinking about the scene where when the two people were going at it on the bed and like miraculously an 8-foot spear like comes through them, which you have no room under a bed to like get that angle.
Right.
But I can't really, I'm having a hard time explaining that to a 9-year-old.
There's a
This
scene.
is how I tell them
there's
it's not real.
There's a scene in this Terrifier movie where this girl's in this place and she walks up to this clown sitting there and just sitting there like disturbingly. And she takes a selfie with him under. He doesn't. He's kind of annoyed she did it. So later on in the movie, he has her hanging upside down on this thing and saws her completely in half. But before he does it, he takes the camera and looks. He takes a selfie with her.
Now, how did you explain that to your 3 and 5-year-old son?
Well, they actually, they love the movies now. They're not allowed to watch those. We're on Vampirina with them.
Yep.
There are some horror movies that I like. I mean, I'm not going to – I'm just like – I think Bottoms, is that a horror movie that just came out?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think my kids saw it like 2 or 3 times. But like I liked of course, I loved Michael Myers and Halloween movies when I was a kid. The original Nightmare on Elm Street is fantastic. Evil Dead's great. But like when I watch like movies that are just super gory, like I can't watch it.
Yeah. Well, gore's not horror. It's not proper horror.
Well, torture films are what we get now,
like
right?
I don't
like
that
Hostel
shit.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like,
That's the thing with it's not like that. It's like fucked up the movie I'm telling you about, but it's not like that. I know what you're saying, Chris, because I don't like movies that make you feel like when I watch Hostel, I remember I was like, I'm just watching people get tortured for like 2 hours.
Movies like that I have no interest in. Like even the Saws, like I'm like they don't really do it for me. Like I like
The Lost Boys, that's where it's at, man. The Lost
That's
Boys
a
is a
great
fucking
movie.
great movie.
It really is. That's a fantastic flick. It has the Coreys in it. You can't go wrong with the fucking Coreys.
I met the one who passed away. He was at a convention in Florida called Spooky Empire. And man, you could just tell they had like him.
It was not long for this world.
No, you could just we talked to him for a moment, and he was out of. You could kind of just see it. He had that thing going on. So
I was just thinking about. We were watching something old on TV today, and it reminded me of a girl that I saw in one of the Corey films, but I couldn't remember which was the Corey that thought he was Michael Jackson.
Feldman.
Yes. There was a movie. I don't remember this. I don't retain this type of stuff. Okay, there was a
him.
movie where he was. I think it's the only one where he wasn't with the other Corey, which is why it's
Corey
standing out
Schneider.
to me. Corey Schneider.
He's retired now.
And he's like, dream a little dream.
Oh yeah, dream a little dream.
Whoever
We're
that
glad we
co-star
could help,
was,
Bob.
that
was
brunette
fantastic.
was.
He just
I have to
needed,
be honest.
just needed us so you could work through it.
I just need to work through that
That was
because
good.
Unspoken, he did a good job.
Corey's confused. But anyway, that girl was
Feldman,
really,
I
really
like
hot.
Corey Feldman. I got to admit, in
Yeah?
those old movies, he was in Friday the 13th, the final
Yeah,
chapter.
he was in 4. Yep.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, he was in The Burbs. The Burbs was a great fucking
Yeah, that
movie.
was a good movie.
He was always like kind of a cool character. The problem is Corey Feldman is exactly the same now.
He
But
was
he's
in
just
Stand
like
By Me.
Stand By Me.
that's-
That was such a great movie.
I watched a movie last night. I don't usually turn movies off, even when they're pretty bad. Usually I'll just suck it up. But I actually put a movie on last night and turned it off. And I got like an hour into it. And I was like, I just can't take it anymore. It was Babylon. Has anyone seen this?
No.
With
I
Brad
have
Pitt.
Now, what is
Margot
this about?
Robbie. It's so it takes place in like the late 1920s. It's during the silent movie era, and it's about silent movies, but it's filmed manically, and just the direction, everything about it was terrible. Like I mean, I thought this was like, this is a good cast. It looks like a fun movie. I was so friggin' disappointed.
Is it supposed to be experimental and just was like annoying? That kind of thing?
I think the director tried to film, and well, first of all, it followed 3 people basically, like Margot Robbie's character, Brad Pitt's character, and there was another character. I don't know the guy that played him, but it followed his character, and it was like it goes in one scene where they're like a day on the set, right, of this silent movies where they would film like 40 different movies all at the same time, because
you think they yelled quiet on the set, or they didn't have to?
That's why it was craziness, right?
Yeah,
I think like how
you could
crazy
fart during a scene, and it doesn't even matter.
How you could, which I would.
Which, by the way, usual suspects.
Yeah,
that whole scene where they're getting shot at the lineup thing, and they keep cracking up. That was because Benicio del Toro kept farting.
Really?
Yeah, well, this is what it was alleged on some kind of reel I saw. But anyway, back to
I don't think I would ever be a good actor, but I know I would definitely be a better silent movie actor than a regular actor. So, but I think the director tried to film this actual movie, which was supposed to have a plot and everything else, kind of the way silent movies were shown back in the day, and it came across as really wonky and fucked up. It was just a bad movie. So if anybody hasn't seen it out there, and
they have like the text on the board, like
movie,
you know, how,
didn't do that.
And it's silent. That was so annoying. You ever try to watch an old movie like that?
And
they're
God.
like, and now
you can watch this, and it'll.
She tells her husband at home,
right?
And like that's to be like
love
between
those
the
movies,
scenes.
though.
It's like
I love Charlie Chaplin. I love those kind of movies, though. Yeah, I do. But I mean, my wife can't handle them. She's always just like, she falls asleep in like 10 minutes. She's like, how do you watch this shit?
Every year that goes by, I lose more and more attention span. Like I can't even watch something from the 70s anymore because it's too slow for me. You know. It's weird because even good movies I like.
What you had mentioned about Apocalypse Now, like you were saying, we were talking about that, and you were saying that you tried to watch. It's just too slow. You can't watch it.
I know. I blame the phones.
Yeah, it is. It's our 15-minute attention span. It's really
Does that drive you guys crazy when you're watching shit, Chris? And people are like on there like. When I hate when like I'm trying to like we're watching a movie and I see phones lighting up around me. I'm like, why are we watching this shit?
Like I seriously. I turn my phone. Well, not turn it off at night, but I'll just put it in the other room and I sit down to watch movies or whatever. I don't want to be bothered. But my kids, they'll watch an entire movie and do everything on their phone all at the same time. I don't know how their brains work, but it's different, fucked up.
Yeah, their brains are going to be way better than ours, or horribly fucked up. I have no idea.
Fried.
I'm leaning
either that, or they
up.
really are going to do the multitasking bullshit that we were always told we should do. You got to multitask, and the truth is, like nobody from our generation is really, really great at multi. I'm looking at some of these kids, and I think they can actually do it. So maybe we've done it. I don't know.
Maybe we got way off hockey.
What? Hockey?
We got way off hockey.
We're supposed to be
hockey season's coming.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. We have.
And we did like 70 episodes.
We have 82 games to talk about.
We did like 70 off-season game shows we did. So we've done a lot of talking about hockey.
I know. It's kind of like, let's just get to it. Let's
that's what we should do. Regular season, talk nothing about hockey, and then in the summer when we could talk about anything, we'll just talk about.
Like when I sit down to watch TV with my wife, she's going to listen to this and get pissed at me. And like I'll sit down, the commercials will be on, and we don't say two words to each other. The show will start, and she'll turn to me and start talking. And I'm like, okay, I'll just pause the TV. Like you had just had 5 minutes to talk to me. Why do you wait until the show comes on?
Your lips to God's ears.
I think she does it on purpose.
It's like when you're in the car and you're playing music and like someone starts talking, like I stop the song. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Let's get it over with.
Yeah. When the music's up really loud, it usually means I don't want to talk to anybody.
Exactly.
You don't want to expose yourself if you agree or not. Just hands up if same thing happens to you.
It's like going to a concert. Go to a concert, everyone's singing around you. It's like, man, I didn't pay to hear you fucking sing.
Maybe it's just a woman.
You guys, your families talk to you? It's so weird. I'm not relating to this at all.
Wow.
I got 7 different languages going on over here. I mean,
anybody have anything they want to talk about? That's the thing.
Here? I didn't even realize Dad's here.
Like and like with Tony, like his kids, like he can't even understand them. He doesn't even know what they're saying.
But so Samantha, as my oldest daughter, she's like going on 5. She's talking 2 languages now, man. But it's funny though because she talks to her mom in Lithuanian and she talks to me. And
she's like, "Mom, why is Dad like this?" You know.
Right.
You've already done your job raising smarter human beings than you. Then
I know, isn't it amazing? It's my wife. That's all her. Cool. That's all the wife right there.
That's all you can do, right? Just raise them to be slightly less of an asshole than you are. That's kind of where I'm at. You know,
right. The bar's low.
Little by little, you just make the world a better place.
Well, I'm just making that happen by being a bigger asshole every day. Therefore, the bar is lower and lower for my kids.
See, the sacrifices you make, Dan.
That's right. So it's all for the future generation.
It's a sacrifice.
Listen, I'm raising a Devils fan in Flower Country, so I deserve a little something for that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
it's not easy. It's not easy.
That's true.
I'm raising 2 kids that have 0 interest in any sports. Or let me change that. I'm raising 2 kids that have 0 interest in anything that interests me. So let me just say that. I'm
not looking forward to those days either, man. I know they're coming.
Yeah, I mean, when your kids are like everything that I do, it's just I'm an old man. Like it's like they have no interest in anything. It's just Dad, you're a fucking dork. Okay,
it's about time he's getting his comeuppance.
You should probably try to hide the things you like.
And I just said comeuppance.
Yeah, right.
Old man.
When you're age.
You'd be doing your kids a favor if you don't seem like you like a lot of things, because anything you like will be probably not a good idea to share with them because they'll ruin it for them.
Okay.
So, just pretend you don't like anything. Yeah, my dad doesn't like anything. No, he just doesn't want to ruin things for you.
Yeah, they just automatically hate anything that interests me. But I guess that's probably most kids, right?
But it comes around, though, when you start getting really old and they start coming around at the end being like, Dad, I miss hanging out with you. Like, well, where the fuck were you for the last 20 years?
Hey, look, I get along, like my kids and I, like we get along great. We hang out all the time or whenever I can because I work a lot. But like we hang out all the time and we always try and do things as a family and stuff. It's just saying like the things that like hockey, like football, like even the shows I like they just have no interest. They have
no sport interest at all.
And, playing, watching, no, and so like my son, he loves, hockey, he loves basketball, loves all of that, but just, to sit down and watch a game? No, hell no. Going to a game is a different story, but they won't sit down and watch anything.
Well, it's about right. It's age appropriate.
I didn't do that either.
Yeah.
I didn't really sit there and try to watch teams until I got a little older. And we'd all play stuff as kids.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you're supposed to do to some extent.
Yeah, I have no issues with it. Do whatever you want. They can do whatever they want, whatever makes them happy.
It's like I was saying last week to you guys, I felt like it was an accomplishment that my kids sat through 3 periods last week. Like actually sat through a hockey game. I mean, there was a little bit, you always have your moments where the train starts going off the tracks a little, shit starts happening a little bit where they get a little moody. But when that game was over, I said to my wife, I said, hey man, the biggest accomplishment was getting them to sit through the game, whole huge game. Yeah.
Now your wife's a doctor and can prescribe medicine, right?
Yeah. So my wife's actually,
she might have a trick to this,
Or you might just need something.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it up for the night. It's getting a little bit late. We got a big show on Tuesday where we're going to go over everything. Looking forward to the first 2 games. I think we're actually going to do back-to-back shows this week, aren't we? We're going to do a game show Thursday after the first game and then the live stream on Friday after the game.
Right.
And Bobby, we need a full report from you when you come back from the game. Okay, you're going to be like our man on the town. You're going to have a whole segment. I'm going to get together a little sounder for you, and you're going to give me all your notes from the game.
Yeah, maybe I can call you during when we're outside on S and Ave, when the place is just going nuts pregame and stuff. If the Devil's Chance start up, maybe just get some sound clip or something.
And Bobby has a big surprise for all.
That phone.
Or
Bobby has a big surprise for all the Pucker fans too. If you get a sticker from him, he's going to buy it. First 10 Pucker fans get a free beer from Bobby.
Is that right? No, that's not how it works. What you can have is a free
first
sticker.
20 fans. Yes, first 20 fans. And you can ask about the 25 cents thing too.
That's right.
Find the Pucker, get a sticker. It'll be fun.
All right, we are the Uncle Puckers. Sorry we didn't talk a ton of hockey, but come on, man. We got a preseason in the books. We got a hell of a hockey team. Looking forward to watch 82 games plus, and hopefully we're still going to be talking about this team in June. So for Dan, Tony, Bobby, I'm Chris. We're the Uncle Puckers. See you when we see you. Later, skaters.
Later.
Oh, wow. We got some intros.